Oh, put on my shoes and I'm ready for the weekend. A raft of European results to get through and a couple of London derbies in the offing. Welcome to the Football Ramble preview show. Fuck off.
No way you get through this. This is crucial. This is crucial because when Marcus is in this seat,
right,
and this happens, he blindly insists that he will get it done.
Yeah.
And we have to sit here until he does it. Sometimes it's take 52.
Oh, right,
no,
okay.
I'm going to do it.
All right.
Let's see how stubborn you are.
You know exactly how stubborn I am. Worse than Marcus most weeks. Oh, I put on my shoes and I'm ready for the weekend. Welcome to the Football Ramble preview show. It's Friday, 22nd of December.
December!
What are you doing?
I'll tell you what, this is all going in. Subscribers deserve to hear this. You've gone from way too much to way too little and the wrong month.
I'm getting showed around a one-bedroom bed set and I'm running around. God, there's just so much room here. I've gone mental.
Yeah.
Oh! Back in. Oh, I put on my shoes and I'm ready for the weekend. Welcome to the Football Ramble preview show. It is Friday, 22nd of September. I'm Pete Donaldson.
I'm Luke Moore.
And I'm Vidushan Huntaraja.
I've drank an entire Monster Energy drink, Luke, and I can't do the intro properly. Vish, you all right, mate?
I'm good.
Third show of the week? Fourth show of the week, is it?
Third, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I've had a lovely time making shows with you guys this week.
Yeah, okay.
We've been stepping up, haven't we?
I think we're the best ones.
I was thinking that, actually.
Yeah.
That's why I brought Lola the dog in, just to see if she could get like the final microphone and then just sort of close the doors, don't let anyone else in.
I thought you were going to say because she's a rat catcher, she can sniff out all the wrong ones. And you can get rid of them.
We got a few rats, a few spies.
How are you
in there.
feeling, Peter? More importantly?
I think I got a bit of a cold, so enjoy that. Whoever's got the mic muff after me.
Right.
Yeah. Good.
Nice.
European action. Brighton didn't manage to get it done against AEK Athens. Very, very bizarre first ever game in Europe. And if this is how Brighton are going to perform in Europe every single season, I would like to see them in Europe every single season because they were good, Vish, but bad.
Yeah, it was weird how chaotic it seemed because generally, like, Brighton at home have a lot of control. It's almost like they got too excited.
Massively. I thought that.
Yeah.
I thought for first of all, I thought you got to do this for Jules because TNT Sport have now got a little ident with Jules in their Brighton shirt, haven't they?
Yes.
Which we, as we all know, those of us who know her know that she has made that a really important part of her contract.
How is that allowed, though?
Yeah,
She's not
right.
supposed to be doing that.
Impartiality.
Yeah.
Well,
Should we complain to Ofsted? Not Ofsted, that's schools, isn't it?
You can complain to Austin; they might not care.
Yeah.
They got other things going on.
I very
Schools
much
are falling
enjoyed
down.
in the pre-match when De Zerbi was getting interviewed. Jules was clearly interviewing him because his eye line was complete.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else like dead centre, but he had to
Get her a
obviously
box.
stoop to look. Get her a little box.
So the game itself, obviously, Brighton lost 3-2 in the end. I massively think that they just played the occasion. I know it's a cliche. I know it's a kind of I played the game, not the occasion. But
Because
they were unrecognisable from the team that you normally see at home, and sometimes even away. I mean, look how they play at Old Trafford, for example.
But I don't know. They looked good up top, didn't they? They looked like they were playing some nice stuff. But when it mattered, I mean, if you're scoring headers from that far out,
that was an incredible header. That was. Right, I'd love to know.
Don't worry about marking him there.
That's a 15-yard out header.
Yeah.
I'd love to know the last time someone scored a header further out than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right in the corner.
He was like something out of FIFA. If you'd scored that on FIFA, you'd be like, a bit unrealistic, that.
I should have double tapped.
EAFC, sorry.
EAFC, have some respect, please.
But yeah,
Brendan Rodgers is looking good in that game, by the way. Well worth hunting him out when you.
He's the only one that turned up to the open day to do his own face.
Yes.
Everyone's like, it'll be fine.
He's only got it on a floppy disk. He just sends the floppy disk over. I will obviously have scanned myself.
Take it from the massive photo of myself above the mantelpiece.
Here are 3 envelopes with 3 different headshots.
Different faces in it. It was an incredible header, wasn't it? I can't remember the last time I saw someone score a header from that far out.
And I agree with Pete's assertion that, like, I don't think you need to be concerned with marking someone there.
It was a freak goal, but a really good goal.
Yeah, like, give them that.
Yeah.
Okay, you deserve that. There's no, we can find no fault in how we approach this corner. That's just a very good goal.
I don't think either of you should be a coach. Don't worry about marking him there.
Let
we'll
them
give
have
them
fun
that
as
goal.
well.
That's
Yeah, you
fine.
can have that.
Let them have fun as well.
And they let them play the occasion, and they had enough to get back in the game, and they had enough to win it, but they just kept on leaving the keys on top of the wheel.
They were very jammy goals, I thought. Yeah. Like AEK Athens didn't have to work too hard to find like the fake rock with the key in it.
They left it on the plant pot rather than underneath.
I mean,
it,
are we giving AEK Athens enough credit though? Because obviously they had a really successful season last season. They won the cup as well, I think, as well as because in the Greek Super League they've got like a playoff system where the top 6 go through to a playoff, and then they find out the champions from there. And AEK Athens won it, the whole thing, and I think they won the cup as well. And they're obviously a team used to winning and a team used to kind of playing with confidence and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's just a case that Brighton weren't quite on the ball because of the big occasion. And it was always going to be a massive occasion. I mean, the way they approached it, all the build up to it, you could kind of understand it. So what I'm trying to say is it the fact that Brighton were off it, or that AEK Athens is just a bit better than everyone thinks? Are AEK Athens going to be a team that, all of a sudden they make the semi-final and everyone goes, oh, they were the dark horse of the tournament?
Do you not think it's just that they have got a bit more European pedigree than a team that have never played in Europe?
Well, but any team that's ever played in Europe has got more pedigree than Brighton.
Exactly.
You've got more pedigree than Brighton in Europe, and that's just from weekend breaks going to indie bars in Serbia.
Correct. Yeah.
Also, are you just saying that because Athens is one of the oldest cities in the world?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but it's not the oldest city in the world because that taxi driver in Liverpool said that there's more history in Liverpool than any other city in the world.
Yeah,
so
good point.
Yeah,
step down.
Atlantis as well. No one ever talks about that.
No, they don't. I mean, Pete, you want to carry on putting facts out there because I think some of our listeners have got a lot of things to say about your elephant trivia, and that's coming up later.
Let's
in the
move
show.
on to bees. Sturm Graz, Austrian side in Group D of the Europa League, were without their player Javier Serrano against Sporting after Vish. He swallowed a bee, mate.
Great.
Ooh,
Great.
Got any bee facts to upset the listeners with?
No. So what is he? So he has to swallow a fly now, or
Yeah, or perhaps he'll die.
yeah?
No, it's the other way
How does
around.
it work?
Imagine the club doctor.
Spider.
Oh,
Yeah.
he swallowed a spider, right? Okay.
Yeah. He was taken to hospital, but fortunately, no allergic reactions were found. Apparently, though, if you get stung by stuff, you get more reactive to them the more times you get stung.
Oh,
So
really?
maybe next time, I think that's true.
So you take
Again,
on their powers, or you mean you go the other way?
You go the other way. You just
Oh, wow.
Your
Next time.
throat.
I don't think I think he's making a habit of it.
Next time on Swallow the Bee.
Do you know, I've never told you this before, Pete. I haven't told you this before, Vish. When I was a kid, I was about 13. I was at a barbecue at a friend's family's house, and they had a nice house and had a swimming pool and stuff.
Right.
And the guy who owned the house was doing a big old barbecue. It's
Yeah.
probably about 1994. I was a young teenager. And I remember him at the barbecue swigging out the can of beer and then going mental, everyone
Right.
rushing over. And there was a wasp in his can of beer that as he drank it stung him on the inside of the throat. And his throat swelled up.
I bet. I mean, even if you're not allergic to a wasp, if it stings you inside your throat, you're going to swell up.
Yeah,
aren't
one of
you?
those things that when you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you just push that to one side and go, oh, that happened when we were kids. That actually, when you look back on it now, it's like, that's quite a traumatic thing to see.
That is quite traumatic, and also like you would think for the rest of your life that he's still in there. You know what I mean? He'd be like,
The guy is
he
fine.
didn't leave.
I
right.
actually saw him. I was actually home back to my parents' house for the weekend a while back, and actually saw him walking along the beach. I didn't say
in his
anything.
nest.
I didn't say anything.
As he popped out of his nest for a bit.
Yeah, he was just buzzing along. So I wish
best.
Javier Serrano all the very best.
Yeah.
It's quite an embarrassing injury for what is presumably a massive alpha male environment that he works in.
It would be funny if he was stung by a hamster.
Impossible.
All right, bitten by a hamster.
Better.
Serrano hamster.
Yeah.
It was a better night for West Ham who beat TSC at 3-1. Incredible flooding scene at the London Stadium. I mean, I say the London Stadium, our stadium.
And that was just Thames. That was just Thames
was
Water.
Thames
It wasn't raining.
Water.
It wasn't
raining. No.
Someone
No.
turned a tap on at Thames Water.
So much water sort of flooding over the top of
You
the
get a billion litres.
concession.
You get a billion litres. You get a billion litres.
Why are you bothering with water meters? Just give us what you're losing out of the tap.
Everyone gets a billion litres.
Exactly. I mean,
Take your free kicks in this, James Ward-Prowse.
incredible. James Water-Prowse. Incredible scenes at the concession stand, though. Like, how are you keeping hot dog buns dry in that kind of
I
condition?
don't think they're worried about that.
No? Okay.
It's their
right.
£9 a throw, and you get them as they come. It's like, Joey Chestnut, the great hot dog swallower.
What?
Joey Chestnut is the
Joey Chestnut is the great hot dog
The
swallower.
worst thing is I know exactly who
He's the greatest competitive eater to ever live.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And he's eating like
If you're specifying hot dogs, it sounds like a euphemism.
But that's what they do.
Right.
But what they do, the technique, I don't know if you've seen
Dip
it, it's
it in water.
disgusting. They dip it in water.
Right.
There you go. Joey Chestnut there. He's loving it. He's absolutely loving it.
Loves them. When I used to work at Leicester City, you would get the hot dog sausages in like a sort of foil packet, and there'd be like 20. Like
Will they roll over,
like a
Bram?
machine gun. No. It's before roll over, for crying out loud. And you'd immerse them in a warm bath of water, and they'd slowly sort of warm up a bit. It was absolutely disgusting.
That's how Olympia cooks her hot dogs.
Right.
I think it's just the way they're done, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you boil them because I always like
The
a bit
Frankfurter.
Of yeah.
I don't go for them. I'd rather have a proper sausage.
Would you fry a Frankfurter?
I would. Just
but
to
it
get
would
a
start
little
bursting,
crust.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's what you make slits in it. Sorry, everyone.
All right, sorry.
So you just make slits in it so it doesn't burst. Yeah.
Okay.
God,
So
the Europa League is boring, isn't it?
Well, it was a better night for West Ham.
Yeah,
Joshua Prowse carrying on his record of scoring or assisting in every game he has played for West Ham. That's not a bad record, is it? That's welcome, I think. But especially at the end of last season, where it was like, where are West Ham going here? They haven't replaced any of the players that they've lost, and look where they are.
You know that feeling where everything that happens in football seems like it's out to get you personally? That's what I'm going through this season.
Right, yeah,
You know what? For the last 10 years, yes.
Yeah. And do you know what's going to happen next? The only thing that can happen next to make me more wrong is Matt Letizia is going to prove the world is actually flat.
Right, yeah.
We're going to wake up one morning and he's going to have like definitive proof that the earth was flat all along.
I would love him to sort of be running into the House of Parliament with his little reading glasses on the end of his nose and loads of papers.
Yeah.
Guys, I've got it.
And as I look around, I think, this can't get any worse. A little chip that Bill Gates has put in me just drops out my leg. And he was right about that as well.
I knew it.
It was Angelo Ogbonna did his best to make it an interesting game.
Christ, he lost the ability to run.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Very enjoyable.
Totally lost it. And obviously it was great to see, for West Ham fans anyway, to see Mohamed Kudus get off the mark. He looked like he was pretty busy. But yeah.
A good time was had by all. At a rainy London stadium.
Yeah.
I forgot. The trains were an absolute nightmare coming out of it, apparently. That was my partner.
Nothing works in this country.
Yeah.
Nothing works.
It's true. Not as bad as all in Newcastle. They closed the Milan metro after the Newcastle match, and everyone had to walk 2 hours into the town centre.
Oh, really? Do you remember when we went to Napoli and we had to walk all the way back?
Yeah, similar sort of vibes, I guess, but we weren't like an invading force of Geordies.
No, but in Naples, it's frightening, though, isn't it?
Scooter safety, if nothing else, for crying out loud. Well, West Ham are going to be heading to Anfield on Sunday. Big news from the camp of Mr. Steven Gerrard. He basically revealed that he has massive regrets about leaving Liverpool months before Jürgen Klopp arrived. He said in hindsight, I would have put up with 4 or 5 months of Brendan Rodgers to get 6 months of Klopp for sure.
So he knows.
Unwelcome.
He knows he'd only get 6 months with Klopp before Klopp turfed him out.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess so.
But it's a massive dig at Brother Brendy, isn't it?
I suppose. But
Is it
because,
disrespectful? Because I thought they got on.
I did too.
That's clearly quite pointed. I couldn't hack anymore.
Right.
But if I knew the other guy, if I knew someone better was coming, I would have stayed. But I feel like he moved on at the right time, didn't he? I mean, obviously he would want it to end his career at Liverpool, but I don't think there was they had to move on from him.
I think exactly, and I think the problem with a player of that size at a club that big, who almost, and it's really probably impossible for any player to fully outgrow a club the size of Liverpool. But if anyone was going to, it would be someone like Steven Gerrard, particularly in the modern game.
Yeah.
It becomes a real issue, doesn't it? Because you don't want to be that manager who comes in as an outsider and says, well, you're off. Steve McClaren tried to do it with David Beckham at England. Lots of managers have had to try and do it down the years. I remember thinking at the time, wonder if Kenny Dalglish would be the guy to do it, just because his reputation at Liverpool is so big, he could probably withstand it. And then obviously what happened. If Klopp came in and one of the first things he did was to turf out Steven Gerrard, it's a difficult thing to wear when you're not the Jurgen Klopp who's achieved all the things that you've achieved at the club. Because when he first came in, he hasn't, right? He's just another guy. So
probably quite helpful that he didn't have to do that.
All I was going to say was it's a bit of a sliding doors moment. Thanks to Brendan for jumping on that grenade. And maybe you get a statue for that.
Well, outside the Al Ettifaq, presumably. I'd very much like to hear the opinions of Damari Gray, Ginny Wijnaldum, all these players who are playing under Steven Gerrard now. I could have put up with 4 months of Jim Gerrard to get a John Terry.
in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Oh, John Terry's had a terrible week, hasn't he?
Has he? Oh, yeah, the NFT market's bottomed out as far as it will bottom out.
I reckon he got out early.
I don't reckon.
Yeah.
I don't reckon he was financially exposed.
But I guess a lot of footballers will have NFTs. I got involved in the NFT game, spending 50 quid on a NFT in like a kind of like trading, like sort of football game online.
Oh yes,
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
and
vaguely.
I kept getting an email saying Paul Dummett is available. A 1 of 50 limited NFT collection. Paul Dummett is.
Dummett.
Yeah.
Just on the phone to your broker, sell, fucking sell.
For crying out loud. He's registered for Europe, I'm just saying. For crying out loud. And also on Liverpool, Jordan Henderson played in front of 976 fans last week. What was your point on that, Vish, that I very much enjoyed?
Well, I think, if some of them who were homophobic attending the game left a little less homophobic, he's done his job, hasn't he?
976. Enough for a large gay bar.
There goes Jordan Henderson.
That is a
Very
that is
large
a
bar.
huge
Capacious gay bar, yeah.
It's a very large bar.
All right, JAY. There's probably 1,000 people in JAY every night, isn't there?
Oh, I don't
More. I reckon its capacity's bigger than that.
Nah.
You don't reckon?
Nah, that's a fire risk.
No, because they have to block up some of the seats for away fans, don't they?
Legia Warsaw 3, Aston Villa 2. Not a great start to Aston Villa's first European campaign in 13 years. Awful defending, but don't worry, lads. Chelsea at the weekend. I would say that with Villa, a little bit like Brighton. Obviously, Villa have a bit more storied in the European competitions, but I did think that they only had themselves to blame, Vish. I thought they played some good stuff at times.
They made a lot of changes as well, didn't
Yeah, they made 5 changes, didn't they? I kind of maybe this is going to sound really patronising, but it's generally how I think maybe a lot of fans of Brighton and certainly West Ham a couple of seasons ago and Villa in this particular instance. It's just quite cool being back in Europe, and I feel like the balance to strike is. What do you put your stock in? I feel like West Ham got away with it to a point last year because they fell away in the league and ended up winning the Conference League. Yeah, but now feel like quite settled, presumably because they're more used to although they know how they weren't equipped, physically with the Thursday to weekend shift. And like I suppose Brighton and Aston Villa are going to find out themselves the harder way about this. But I think for this first game, it'll be interesting to see how they fare against Chelsea. And as you say, it's probably beneficial for them that they're playing Chelsea because it's not the most taxing fixture right now, is it?
I mean, I would say with like Emery, obviously he's got incredible pedigree when it comes to Europe. If he had his choice in his heart of hearts, I think he would probably choose not to be in European competition because it's a bit of the way that they played last season. They could have really kicked on at the start. Well, they could do without this.
And I think you're right, Pete. And I think it's early to say how teams this season are going to handle it. We can talk about how good West Ham have been since the start of the season and whether they've got the balance right. I mean, really, the season hasn't properly got going yet, so we'll have to wait and see.
Teams like Newcastle need games, I think, just to play themselves back into form. So.
Right. And I think also what has to happen at some point during the season for all these teams that are in Europe is they have to make a decision about priorities, right? And West Ham last season were like, look, as long as we stay in the Premier League, we've got a real chance here to win a trophy. And obviously they did do that, and it was an amazing thing. And for them and the recent history, that's a great thing. The reality is, though, for a lot of bigger sides, like Liverpool in the Europa League, for example, it's that competition isn't really going to get going for them as a priority till the semi-final, probably. So it very much does depend on the profile of the club. And I think if Aston Villa were maybe in the Europa League rather than the Europa Conference League, maybe Emery with his pedigree might see it a bit differently. But then again, he might not, because he may not think he's got the squad to handle it. What I would say, though, is if given the money that's awash in the Premier League compared to other European leagues, particularly teams that are present in the Conference League or the Europa League, if you haven't got the squad to handle it, then why the fuck not? Because everyone else has to handle it. And so there's a chance there. I think it's probably a situation with them at the moment where they say, look, we'll one way or another we'll get out of the group and then we'll see where we land. I think Villa have got a chance to do something really good domestically this season with the manager they've got and with the players they've got. Maybe this will become a bit of a distraction, but we don't know what's going to take the priority until we move through the season a bit more. I think.
Well, a big distraction for the Football Ramble has been the Duran puns. Duran obviously
not
scored.
A distraction.
Scored
That's
again,
the main reason I'm here.
Scored again for Villa. Listener Matty responded to our Duran puns by simply saying, "This is wild, boys."
I don't really get that.
This is wild, boys.
Yeah.
Presumably that's a Duran song.
Wild Boys.
Yeah.
Wild Boys.
The title isn't.
Wild
the title
Boys.
isn't that this is Wild Boys, though, is it?
No, it's just Wild Boys.
This is Wild Boys.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Shaggy Steve 97's goals on film.
Goals on film's much better.
We should have come up with that.
Yeah, I feel like
fair.
we missed the trick there, really.
Yeah. Europa League finalist Roy Hodgson will be back in the dugout, swooping in for the Roy Hodgson derby. Crystal Palace versus Fulham. My money's on Palace doing this one. It's good to see Roy the boy out of the doctor's surgery and into the dugout.
Out of the vets.
Out of the vets.
You said it was probably just a bad mouse, and it turns out he's bounced back very quickly.
Yeah.
That's nice to see.
Got through a system.
It's gone through a system very well, exactly.
Check his pellets.
Check his pellets, absolutely. And Crystal Palace are home to Fulham this weekend. It is the Roy Hodgson derby. The big news coming out of that that fixture, is that did you see this story about the Michael Jackson statue outside Craven Cottage?
Right.
So the Michael Jackson statue used to stand outside Craven Cottage, right? Everyone knows about that.
Yeah.
It was mad. I used to work right near there and used to run along the Thames at lunchtime, so I used to see it. Mad.
You just painted the picture like it's like the first snow of Christmas.
Yeah, but it's just weird.
You scampering through the streets of West London.
The further away from that getting installed and then torn out, the more you sort of go, it kind of fits. But maybe it's just been a part of the footballing narrative for such a long time.
I just don't think it gets mentioned enough.
How mad it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was mad at the time. Like it was acknowledged as mad at the time.
And Mohamed Al-Fayed's passed on now. God rest him. God bless him and all that. I just think if you support a club and and the owners announce there's going to be a statue outside the stadium, and you're like, okay, they've obviously got a statue of Johnny Haynes outside their stadium and one of their greatest players. Who's next? It's Michael Jackson, and it's not only
It's Jason Derulo.
That would be kind of the equivalent now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine outside Luton Town, they're like, right, here's Jason Derulo.
Or if they started because obviously Jason Derulo's famous was just saying his name.
all the time, yeah.
When the game starts, Jason Derulo says, it's Jason Derulo.
Yeah. Or DJ Khaled.
DJ
Yeah.
Khaled.
DJ Khaled
Another
strumming
one.
that acoustic
Strumming
guitar.
that acoustic guitar he got off Bob Marley's estate.
And saying another one. You could have, so you have Jackson. I mean, I feel sorry for Johnny Haynes in this analogy.
Jackson Derulo.
Yeah. DJ Khaled and Johnny Haynes.
The Wilston Raider.
But when Michael Jackson's statue was unveiled, it wasn't even really a statue. It's like a kind of
an animatronic.
Yeah,
Michael Jackson.
like a child's idea of a statue.
Oh, yes.
Colour and stuff. Anyway, the point I was going to
Something
make
you'd
was...
buy in Harrods.
Basically.
Yeah.
The point I was going to make was that the Manchester Evening News have reported that it's now in storage at Deepdale, Preston North End's ground. I don't know why.
Is it something to do with the football museum that we did a show in? Because we did a show to the statue, didn't we?
We did a show once at the National Football Museum, live podcast.
To statues instead of... like
No, and the Michael Jackson statue was in the National Football Museum, which is mad anyway.
Right.
But it was right next to where we were sitting doing the show.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So I don't know why it's been removed from the National Football Museum either. Very, very strange.
Maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's just moved of its own accord. Maybe it's haunted.
Well, maybe it is because Al-Fayed blamed the Michael Jackson statue for getting them relegated. So
it's quite low on that man's list, isn't it?
Yeah, and he also oversaw the statue.
didn't they have a big statue for one of his best ofs going down the Thames? That was massive.
They did, yeah.
Get that one in.
Yeah,
That's
for the
massive.
history album.
yes.
Like Christ the Redeemer.
For the history album, yeah.
Unbelievable. There's no two ways about it. We're going to have to talk about bloody elephants. Listeners have taken exception to my claim on Wednesday that elephants are one of the slowest animals on fucking earth. When I see my speech written down, it just sounds cool. After Brooklyn Beckham's photograph of an elephant, Andy Axe on X says, next Ramble meetup needs to be Pete versus an elephant in the 100 metres. I've got the money on the elephant. They'll get distracted by a bun.
I just love the idea of explaining that concept to an elephant.
Yeah.
Right?
You've got to race a northerner.
A man's been slagging you off. Doesn't think you're fast enough.
Yeah.
Can you run a straight line for 100 metres? I'd love to see you next to it as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you next to it.
Also, what you could do is you could get Roy to come down, and then just when it looks like the elephant's about to pull ahead, Roy will like cough up a mouse. Elephants are scared of mice.
They're scared of mice.
At least they are in the
Good
cartoons, and then it'll run away. We'll just get scared.
Andrew Davies pointed out that they can reach 25 miles per hour. There's an elephant through his little trunk.
Do you have another go at that?
I'm happy with the first guy.
Hey,
improve on it.
hey, Vish, how does an elephant ask for a bun?
Can I have a bun?
Can I have a bun, please?
Yeah. More a visual
Good
joke,
stuff.
that one.
More of a visual joke.
So they can reach 25 miles an hour. That's fair enough. I checked that.
But most of them Done.
Yeah, and I think
You've got a nice car as well. You can go in
I've
that.
got a nice car. Jaguar versus elephant.
Yeah.
Who's going to win?
one of them smells of piss.
It'll
and it's not the elephant.
It'll be the elephant because the elephant's boat is in full of water.
Yeah, and it doesn't stink of piss.
Fucking with the electrics.
What I would say is that I come down your side on this because people are right to point out that their top speed is what it is.
Yeah.
And they can charge and they can do what they can do.
Yeah.
But generally
speaking, it's a slow animal.
they're just standing around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're not doing much.
No.
So Brooklyn Beckham, when people come to this conversation as listeners and they think they're on the side of an elephant here against you, what they're actually doing is they're putting themselves on the side of Brooklyn Beckham.
Exactly.
They're basically nepo babies.
Also, like the elephant
babies.
that runs that can reach 25 miles an hour. Surely not all. Like there might be a couple of elephants that smoke. You don't know. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And when I looked at, when Pete and I were chatting yesterday about the fastest animals in the world, the cheetah, the stat about the cheetah being the fastest, that's based on a cheetah that was in captivity in some zoo in the Midwest in the US.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
they properly timed in a regulated way between two sticks to run. It could, and I think it was a female cheetah actually hit a certain speed. So they said a cheetah can hit this speed. For all we know, they could, in the wild could be going much faster than that.
Yeah.
But I think it's either cheetahs or leopards. I remember being at a zoo and the keeper was going, shit animals because they can run themselves into exhaustion. They can kill themselves running.
Oh right.
It's either a leopard or a cheetah. They just run and they just collapse and die.
I feel bad because
They overheat. Thick.
Because if it is a cheetah, like cheetahs are known for being fast. Maybe they play up to that. Like
Yeah.
people just
Yeah.
want them to run.
Yeah, exactly.
so-
Well, after the restaurant chat about obviously Rio Ferdinand losing access to, well, he's closed it down, shuttered it, his restaurant in Manchester. Apparently, David Beckham opened a London-themed hotel in Macau in May called The Londoner.
I'd love to know what David Beckham's perception of what London is
That's what I'm
and how
saying,
that
'cause-
informs the
Because,
theme.
because rich people who are rich from quite a young age, they don't get to experience the pub. They can't because
No.
David Beckham can't walk into a pub.
Yeah.
Nah.
Lampard used to own a pub in Chelsea called the Pig's Ear.
He
Yeah,
doesn't.
we
He
know.
doesn't own it anymore.
He did till very recently.
Right. I think it's quite a good boozer.
Yeah.
Is it quite good?
Yeah.
All right, fair dues. All right, we're going to take a short break and we're back with, previews of the weekend matches. There's a big North London derby, I hear, on Sunday. We'll see you in a second.
It's yours to go and win.
Not as ours, yeah.
Tell me, what did you say in that huddle right at the end?
None of your business.
Cheers, Jeff.
He's not around anymore, is he?
Nah.
Shreves?
Gone.
Gone.
God
Well, he's
rest
still
him.
alive.
Yeah, he's still alive.
He's still
yeah.
alive,
It's important to point that
yes.
out. Yeah, absolutely right.
Indeed. He'll resurface. He'll have a pod or a book out.
I think he
soon.
does. He's certainly been on podcasts.
He's had a book out. He had a book out
Yeah.
recently. Yeah.
What's he like? Is he willing to sort of pull back the curtain completely?
Who, Jeff Shreves?
Shreves.
He's a penis.
Yeah, but that's your opinion.
Yeah, well, you
And the
asked,
things
just
he
asked
does-
my opinion. You just said, what's he like?
I'm saying on like media that's outside of normal television. Is he let loose? Does he feel free, or is he very much a company
I
man?
suppose that you'd have to read his book because I think he got nominated for a Sunday Times Book Award,
Good.
but it didn't win.
Right, okay. Did you win?
What did?
Oh, Vish won. There we go.
What's your book
No,
called
sorry,
again? Where can you get it
Mark
from?
Wood won.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. I
Yeah.
technically didn't win.
You
Yeah.
changed a bit of punctuation or whatever.
Yeah.
And Mark Wood won.
Mark
right.
would be able to write a book, but Vish helped.
There you go. Absolutely.
There we
right.
go. Arsenal versus Spurs Sunday at 2 p.m. Arsenal won both North London derbies last season. I'm really looking forward to this match.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It's a beautiful. You can get in the Pig's Ear or wherever in Chelsea if indeed
What
it has
a great
sport.
place to watch Arsenal Spurs.
Probably won't be shown it.
and enjoy this one. Before Arsenal's 4-0 win against PSV, apparently Emmanuel Petit commented that he's been bored watching Arsenal this season.
Cheers, Emmanuel.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Emmanuel.
cheers,
Cheers,
mate.
Manu.
Thank you. All the
Appreciate
best.
that.
Did Petit kind of like contribute all of the beautiful football
No,
to
not
the
really.
side
He
of
was
the
a good player,
90s?
wasn't he? But
He
he
was a
wasn't
good player, but he wasn't like
a flair player, was
the
he?
craftsman, was he? No.
No, he's
Yeah.
blonde, he's quick, his name's a porno flick. They used to sing, didn't they?
Nice.
I do like that.
Yeah,
That's
it's good chance.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting game, chiefly because both those teams have got basically an identical record going into this. Spurs are obviously resurgent, and I think Manu Petit's saying what he's saying because he looks at Arsenal and goes, "Oh God, they're still unbeaten. 5 games in. Need to bring them down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to get any of those after dinner bookings. There's going to be a bigger pool. But seriously, I think it's a really interesting game, chiefly because, like I say, they've got the same record. Spurs have been so good so far this season, but can they do this type of football?
Yeah.
Can they play this way away from home against a big rival? And can they, for example, stick to their guns if they go a goal down early against a good Arsenal team in that kind of fiery atmosphere, which it will be at the Emirates now. I mean, it kind of is like that now.
If anyone calmed down, it's Angelo, surely.
Yeah, I think so. But I think he likes to play the way he likes to play, and I think he's quite. He's almost quite dogmatic about that, and I also feel like Arsenal had a perfect, as Vish and I mentioned actually briefly on Thursday. Arsenal had a perfect time against PSV. They were able to win easily. They were able to build their confidence up. They were able to remove key players early. They'll be fresh. They'll be firing for this, and it'll be an opportunity for Arsenal to say, do you know what? We're still the team here. We're still the North London team here, and Spurs have got an opportunity to say, off we go. Get off your perch.
Like it feels like. Yeah, like a perfect time for these two to meet and a treat for us as neutrals. But you think Arsenal have been quite, like basically slowly building up to the standards they set last season, and that PSV game felt like a bit more of a flex than they've had recently. And then you kind of look at Spurs and in part because of, to riff of what Andy said last week about, let fans get excited about it. They're in that quite cool place, and I speak with a lot of envy as a Manchester United fan. We don't really know where the ceiling is. There is a ceiling, but you're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And so
it's refreshing for people our height as well to feel that there's a ceiling close to us.
Whenever there's a ceiling close to me, always touch it.
Yeah, enjoy it. It's like the Liverpool sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Any ceiling, yeah.
Like it does feel like a real. So this, I think, it could be a massive accelerator for Arsenal if they come in and just win, not even like win convincingly, but win.
Have a nice time.
And for Spurs, I think it might be just to step up another level because they've had broadly favourable games so far. Like they've got a lot of fan love back and a lot of people believing in what they're doing, which they haven't had in fucking ages, really. Yeah. And so this could be. I reckon even if they get away with a draw, considering they've lost this fixture 3-1 like in the last 2 seasons, I think it bodes well, at least going into the end of the year.
What was fan love out for? Shin splints? Was it? Martin Odegaard, you've got a player who's, he's drawing quite the salary. He's going to be the club's highest player on the Arsenal side.
Highest player or highest player?
Touching the ceiling.
Highest paid player.
A short man touching the ceiling.
He's going to be the highest paid player. He's signed a new 5-year deal. Obviously, a few clubs were sort of circling and monitoring that situation. But it's an interesting player at 24 to be the one who's drawing the biggest salary at that club.
And the timing is of the announcement, I think, is the most interesting thing because it shows that Arsenal are confident. They could have held that news back and thought if we lose at home to Spurs on the weekend, we can drop that news on Monday and everyone forgets about it. They've done it ahead of the game, which to me feels like it's a confident decision to make personally. And then as for the old Odegaard thing, I mean, he's a captain of the club. I mean, he's one of their best players. He's certainly one of their most important players. And with the pedigree he's got and where he's come from, it kind of makes sense that they want to tie him down. I just think the timing of the signing is pretty interesting. This is a game. This is the barn burner of the weekend for me. This is the kind of thigh rubber of the weekend. I'm excited. It's on the telly as well, which is kind of a depressing thing to say for a football fan, but that's just the situation we're in. And then on the Spurs side, I think what's going to be really interesting in terms of the game itself is this midfield. I mean, they do play slightly differently to this, but this kind of midfield three, I would say, is a three really in the way they function. Sarr, Bissouma, and Maddison. Can they do it away from home against a really good team? And can Maddison get all the joy he's been getting up against someone like Declan Rice, who's also been getting an awful lot of attention for being such a good player as well? It's really going to be the immovable force against the unstoppable object, whatever they say. What is it? The unstoppable force versus the immovable object.
Yeah.
And whoever wins out of that, I think will be it'll be a fascinating battle.
It's huge for Maddison, isn't it? Because it's a very different kind of challenge, and with it comes a lot of responsibility. Like he knows he's just going to get pelters from the crowd, and he generally takes that quite well. But this is quite a febrile atmosphere, especially at the Emirates now, where it's they've taken the level up a notch.
I just think as well, it's fair enough. They got a point against Brentford away from home. That's really the most high profile away game they've played. And of course, they played Man United at home, but I was at that game. Man United weren't very good. Man United concede goals for fun. It's just crazy how often they concede goals. So, it's not really the same.
How are we catching strays in the North London?
You should be. You should be. It's incredible how often they concede.
Yeah.
And the only game they haven't conceded is the Wolves game, where they should have conceded about 6.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big test for Maddison. And I think he'll become, and I've said this before, I think he'll become a legend at that club. I think he fits it's intangible, but aesthetically, he just fits the club.
Yeah.
And people love him already. If he goes to the Emirates at this kind of time of the season and puts in a masterclass, you're on your way to legendary status. All he's got to do really is lift a trophy at Spurs to be a legend there.
Yeah.
And that tells you a lot about Spurs.
Well, I mean, just because he plays next to him, but I mean, that's the other big factor in this is Basuma. Because he's, since signing from Brighton, this is the cleanest run he's got at Spurs. He's playing brilliantly. There's like Moussa Dembele, levels to what he's doing in that midfield. And he is going to have everyone coming at him. He's going to be taking out, looking after Odegaard, carrying the ball forward. He'll basically be bumping shoulders with Declan Rice all evening.
So it's a big test with...
afternoon.
Depends how long the game goes on for, I guess. It's just a big test generally then, isn't it, for the midfield? The Spurs midfield thing is interesting because you look at that at the start of the season, you go, okay, Pape Sarr, highly rated, young player, haven't really seen what he can do yet. Basuma, another player that's come through at Brighton, everyone wanted, and he looks like he's got a lot of potential. He comes to Spurs and his career kind of stalls.
Yeah.
And it's only now he's really doing stuff. And then Maddison... he's part, regardless of how good he's been and how good he is as a player, he's coming from a relegated team. I don't think you'd be. I think you can be forgiven for wondering whether that would click and be as good as it has been. But you have to say, to start with, I mean, we're only 5 games in September, but it's been incredible so far. And if they can keep that balance and keep those players fit and keep performing in the bigger challenges, of which this is one, it's an incredible opportunity for Spurs, I think.
Completely agree. Speaking of catching strays, Vish, Andrea Nana wish he had caught a few more. He faced the music after their game against Bayern on Wednesday night. He asked to be put in front of the media.
Big Joe Hart energy.
Bayern.
Joe Hart energy.
Is this good to see in a team that don't put their hands up very often?
Well, look. If we know anything,
he needs to look as well. He needs to look. He needs to catch his strays. He needs to do all those things.
If we look at United over the last few years, this is our apology era. Yeah. We're done with note tap now.
Yeah.
We're fronting up. Yeah.
I think I've never seen a football club put out so many statements.
The 90s was definitely the attitude era.
Yeah,
definitely. For
now
this is the apology.
Yeah.
I think so. When I say it's big Joe Hart energy, I think there's a fine line between being someone who takes responsibility when they make mistakes, and then highlighting yourself as someone who just makes a lot of mistakes.
Right.
Because that's what Joe Hart did. He's doing it every week. Like, okay, all you're doing really now is just acknowledging that you're making quite a lot of mistakes.
I've got to stand up and admit. I wish you'd just stand up. Stay on your feet. Stay on your feet, Joe.
The one thing I will say about Onana, and like speaking specific, like obviously he's in a bad run of form, as are a lot of United players. He's absolutely not the only one. I'm not a massive fan of it because I think emotionally it's quite taxing, and like to put yourself through that, even if you're willing, it's going to
invite it in.
Have an effect.
It's going to invite more pressure on a very pressured role.
Yeah, but also I find him really charismatic. I think he actually speaks really well.
Same.
And I kind of really do appreciate what he's trying to do. It's just sad to see someone do it
from that position.
But from not only in that position where you get shit anyway, but also like he's only been at the club for like 2 months.
And it comes back to what you were saying earlier in the week about the environment he's in, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be further indication that the environment they're in isn't conducive to success. I mean, speaking of that, the story that came out I found most interesting about Man United ahead of this game against Burnley at the weekend is this story about Jadon Sancho on just playing video games online.
It's different to the Odegaard news, isn't it?
Yeah, quite different. Yeah, it's quite different.
But also, like, I don't
big snitch energy to it.
Oh yeah, massively. Oh, he's online.
Yeah. Wait, Erik, do you guess what Jadon's up to? Doing extra training? Nah, well, kind of actually.
I would say that people who do get pre-release versions of these video games, they mostly spend most of their time building packs because there's less.
Right.
Because it's really easy to. There's nobody fighting for the players that you want and stuff. So you build packs, and then once everyone else gets access to the game, so he's probably just doing that. To be honest, he's probably just building his packs.
So it was shared by, I believe, a Chelsea fan,
right,
who had a screenshot of him playing. about 6:30. So
who cares
an hour and a
though?
half.
That kind of,
I'm just saying, people are snitching on Sancho.
Yeah.
I mean, in his defence, I guess, if he's not going to be a part of the squad and he has been banned from training with the first team,
What else is he going to do? Yeah.
He's not like he's grounded.
No.
You sit at home. Eric's not come round taking his PS5 from
Taking
him.
the fuse out of the PS5.
I used to do that when
Change
my,
the Wi-Fi code until he does his homework.
when my mum would I suppose ground me and say be like, no, no TV. And sorry, Lola's just walked in.
Oh, hello, Lola the dog. She just popped in to chat about Manchester United?
Yeah,
Make your life a bit worse?
Is Lola one of those therapy dogs?
She
You
can
just
smell.
said something
She
was
can
wrong.
smell pain. Never mind.
But sorry, I was just saying with regards to when my mum used to ground me, I'd have no TV. She'd pop out, I'd switch the TV on, and when I knew she was about 20 minutes from coming home, I'd switch it off and fan the back of the TV.
So it would cool
nice.
down. That's a really good point.
So the idea that Ten Hag runs into Sancho's room and puts his hand on the PlayStation. Why is this warm? What have you been doing?
Because the thermals on a PlayStation 5 are actually quite difficult to dissipate.
Are they?
It could have been turned on 3 days ago, for crying out loud. I would say that my dad used to take out the fuses on the electrical stuff, not thinking that I have access to the pound shop around the corner. I mean, thick, Stewie Johnson.
That's another example of you being a nepo baby. You learnt how to diffuse electronic
Also,
stuff very early on.
That feels like very Roald Dahl the Twits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I did.
And then
I removed a bit of his walking stick every day until he was on the floor.
Glued his bed to the ceiling.
But Burnley, Manchester United, is this the one match that Manchester United didn't want?
Why are you asking that?
I'm just saying that Burnley, the manager, I just
you
think
think that if
there's
they
just
lose it-
too much narrative in there.
So if they lose this game,
Yeah.
people are going to start going, "Oh God, they are bad, aren't they?" And it's a Saturday night as well, so everyone will be in. If it starts pissing it outside, everyone will be in and watching it. I suppose there is an element of that, but with Manchester United at the moment, as I already alluded to, they can't not concede. It's impossible for them to not concede.
So you're automatically going up, how are you going to get away with a 1-0 deficit?
Well, to be fair,
Yeah.
Burnley have conceded the most in the Premier League so far. So they've got 12 goals from 4 games. Lyle Foster, who's really talented player, is suspended because of his red card last week.
Yeah.
So I think there are a few things tipped in United's favour. But you've got to think whether you're a Burnley player on the field or a Burnley fan in the stand, you're a basket case club are coming to visit, just get under their skin.
You've got to smell
Get under
blood.
their basket.
You have to do that. And I think that, with the exception of the Man City game on the opening day of the season, where they had a man sent off and it was Man City, they've talk about them conceding all you like, but they've scored in every game.
Yeah.
They've scored they scored against Villa. They scored away against Forest in the League Cup. They scored twice against Spurs. They scored against Forest again in the league. So they've got an ability to score goals, and Vincent Kompany's long enough in the tooth as a legendary player, although he's a kind of fairly new manager, to know the dynamic here. He's going to know. Don't be frightened of this. Get out there. We've got the crowd behind us. This team can be got at, and if we compete and we battle really hard, we can overwhelm them, because in the midfield, as we keep saying, they're not where they should be. So, I think if Man United lose this game, I said this at the start of the week. I said if they lose badly to Bayern Munich, which they kind of didn't, but it was a weird game, and then they lose to Burnley, everything starts to look quite tough for them and quite tough for Erik Ten Hag. They've got 3 or 4 home games in various competitions leading up to that.
Yeah.
If they come into those 4 just in terrible form, it's easy to see the crowd starting to get a bit impatient. I think it's a really important game for Man United, this, and it's on a Saturday night. So, as I say all the time, put your feet up in front of the telly.
Yeah,
and enjoy it.
Saturday night matches. We might have Sunday night matches as well. Apparently, the new Premier League rights deal will see an extra 50 matches being sold to broadcasters, which could mean a new post 6 o'clock kickoff time on Sundays. Or they could just televise the 3 p.m.
It has to, doesn't it? Because of that reason, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They have to find ways to squeeze them in around the fixture schedule so the players can actually
But it's not like a commandment, or you could amend the rules, couldn't you? I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
especially in the Premier League, it just seems really childish.
Was there not a really weird situation a number of weeks ago? Maybe even in the first week of the season.
Oh, because of added time?
Yeah, where they were actually in danger with the lunchtime kickoff on a Saturday, with all the added time going over the 3 p.m. blackout, in which case I think legally they would have actually just had to kill it. at
Just
3.
like kill it like it's
They can still have to stop broadcasting.
like when they used to
Like when the streaker comes on.
or when they used to interview Jerry Adams in the 90s just to give him a fake
Change his voice. Yeah.
Just change his
Yeah.
voice. They had to do the post match.
They have to cross to a load of lookalikes. You have to play reenact it.
Remember live TV when it was was it the Tyson Bruno fight? They just got 2 actors to pretend they were actually. Well, we spoke about Jadon Sancho obviously kicking his heels and playing a bit of FIFA. Listener Phil emailed us about this story. Thank you, Phil, for getting in touch. This week, MLS terminated the contract of Montreal midfielder Matko Milhajovic after claims he played for an amateur team under a fake name.
Why is that bad?
Why is that bad? But I guess it is in breach of your contract. If you're a young bird, can't be a fighter pilot. I don't think this person should be able to play amateur football.
Yeah, I mean, it's also alleged that he punched someone.
All right, okay. Okay. That's why then, right?
Reports in
okay.
Canada allege that the player was banned indefinitely for punching an opponent.
Right.
Does that mean you're banned from world football, I suppose?
I'm not technically me, so I can do whatever I want. That's the thought process,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
He's thought, I'm gonna burgle a shop on the way home. I'm not even me at the moment.
Yeah.
It's like that man who burgled that, I think, petrol station. I think brought a sort of shotgun to a petrol station demanding money. And he'd been told that if you put lemon juice on your face, the CCTV can't catch you.
Yeah.
And then when he got caught, he said, "How did you find me? I was wearing the juice."
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, what? Jack's Encyclopedia! It is back for another week, and I'm thinking it's going to be a spicy but quick match because we've only got 2 people in the studio, apart from me.
I need to pick
Unless
up a winner.
Lola gets involved, the dog.
It's a good opportunity for me.
Yeah, bring in Lola. Bring in my therapy dog.
Simple game of categories. I'll give you a category. All you have to do is give me an answer that fits in that category. If you go too long, you're going to hear Gary Neville's orgasm, which will leave you 7 seconds to get involved. Official game archivist Jimmy to the B has provided us with an update about who's winning, who's losing. Marcus is the lineal champion, but with a comprehensive win today. Vish, you can move from 4th into 3rd and leapfrog Luke.
Oh, right.
go.
I'm
Here we
3rd.
go.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice. Okie dokie.
Here we
All
go.
right then. First round, I'm going to come to you first, Lukey Moore, if that's all right.
Yep.
Let me just find my buttons. Stadiums in the first Premier League season, 1992 and 1993. Stadiums in the first
Just to name
Premier
the
League
stadium.
season. Yeah, I
Okay.
want to know the name of the stadium, please.
Old Trafford.
Highbury.
Villa Park.
Goodison Park.
Anfield.
White Hart Lane.
St James's Park.
No,
Oh, fuck.
sorry. I got so excited. I gave you a yes, but it was
So
actually
Vish needs to
no.
get one.
Vish, you need to get one. Thank you very much. This
Um,
couldn't be easier for you.
I forgot what we had.
Well, that's your problem, mate. That's your problem.
That's your problem.
Upton Park.
Oh, so we're back in.
Fucking hell.
I've got a reprieve. Okay.
What have I
Lucky.
done?
Okay, so what about Boundary Park?
I like it. Little wink from Loki Moore, and he's back in the game. Beautiful.
Hey, Vish, bit of Oldham Athletic. mate.
Come on, Vish.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline.
Carrow Road.
Oh, I like it, and it's in there.
Oh, well
Bit of
done.
Norwich City, fantastic.
Okay, let me
Yeah.
go for a little bit of take another fly, just to entertain the listeners, because that's what this is all about.
Okie dokie.
The county ground.
The county ground.
Ah,
I'm sorry, Luke. I'm sorry.
So do I've
Come on,
got, I've
Vish,
got
you got what you got. A guess one.
the Dell.
Oh, you bastard. That's a dagger to my heart. That's a dagger to my heart.
Down to the side. Very, very thin goals. Very thin goal
You're on
nets.
Matt Letizier's side.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there were 22 teams at 21 stadiums because of course Palace and Wimbledon shared, didn't they?
So we could have had that,
You
yeah.
could see what you could have had was Ayresome Park, Middlesbrough, Bramall Lane, Sheffield United, the City Ground, Forest, Elland Road, Ewood Park, Highfield Road, Coventry obviously, Hillsborough, Loftus Road, Main Road, Portman Road, and Selhurst Park. Lukaku.
I thought
obviously
Swindon were in
shared.
there, but it was a season after, I think.
It certainly was. Certainly was.
Okay.
Good stuff. Well done, Vitushin. Right, round number 2, we're going to kick things off with you, Vish. Italians who have managed in the Premier League. And it includes caretaker managers. Italians who have managed in the Premier League. Starting with you, Vish.
Roberto Mancini.
Roberto Mancini. Correct.
The late great Luca Vialli.
Luca Vialli. Correct.
Claudio Ranieri.
Claudio Ranieri.
That's good. Roberto De Zerbi.
Roberto De Zerbi.
Gianfranco Zola.
Oh,
that was a weird one.
I stopped it with my finger. I got so excited.
The great Carlo Ancelotti.
Carlo Ancelotti.
Attilio Lombardo.
Oh, that's a really
That's
good
a
one.
lovely one.
That is a great one. How many left?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 left.
8 left.
Bloody hell.
Italians who are managing the Premier League.
Yeah.
Italians. People from Italy. Who do I know from Italy?
Good God.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline has been written.
Nah, I've not got anything.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vish.
Vish wins.
I'm sorry.
Play the track.
All right then.
Bastard.
Wins.
Well done, mate. Who
Up
could
to
we have had?
third.
Let the music ring out. This is for Vish.
I'll let it ring out, but I'm not clapping along.
You could have had Antonio Conte. Antonio
wow.
Conte. You could have had Christian Stellini. You could have had Guidolin. You could have had Sarri. You could have had Di Canio. You could have had
course.
Di Matteo
Oh, wow.
and Mazzari.
There's loads.
Mazzari.
There's loads
There
of
was
them.
enough. Yeah, there was enough.
Shit.
There was enough there.
I didn't need to go for a Lombardo, did I?
No, you really
I'm
didn't.
pleased that you did, though.
Let's finish it there. We won't go for a bonus round because there's always time next week to have them, to be
Exactly.
honest. This has been the football. Oh, my God. Before I go, listen to TalkSport this morning.
Go on.
They were doing because I think one of the hosts of, one of the football-y hosts of the drive time, his WhatsApp picture is him with John Major. And they said, who do you reckon in TalkSport should be the Prime Minister, and what would their first acts be?
Yeah.
So they said, who's the guy who does breakfast?
Alan Brazil.
Alan Brazil said, Alan, what would you do? And he just launched straight in it. Well, I get the immigration policy.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, keep it light.
Yeah.
We're not asking for your policies, mate.
Yeah.
Keep it light.
What would you do?
Well, Ule's first, obviously. Yeah, first and foremost. There's a diesel driving Jaguar on it. I mean, of course, the first thing would be fucking Ule's. Thank you for listening to the Football Ramble preview show, part of the Acast Creator Network. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Luke's got a blog where he talks about his politics.
No, that's
not
the
true.
Discord. That's the Discord.
He's on the
Only for
Discord.
Patreon
He's on the
subscribers.
Discord at Football Ramble. Follow us on all of those social media situations. And don't forget to subscribe on your podcast app.
Don't forget that around this time of the show, Marcus gets his keys out for the weekend. What are you going to do to announce the opening of the weekend?
Lola! Loli! Oh! Oh! Oh!
She.
Oh! 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 Good girl.
See you next
Good
week.
Girl. See you next week.
Can I keep her?
You're watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.